The red dust of Mars had not settled for 3 days, not since the ships came. Danny Reeves counted 50 warships in the sky above Dustfall Colony, 50 massive vessels that blocked out the stars and turned day into permanent twilight. He had seen war before, back on Earth, back when he was young and stupid enough to think he understood violence. But this was different. This was not a war. This was an execution. The Velthari had arrived without warning, tall creatures that looked like insects mixed with nightmares. They stood on 4 legs and had arms that ended in claws sharp enough to cut through metal. Their eyes were black and empty, and they moved with the cold efficiency of machines. Sergeant Grohl was the one giving orders. He stood in the center of the colony plaza, surrounded by 200 human prisoners. Men, women, children. Everyone who lived in Dustfall was now on their knees in the dirt. Danny knelt beside Priya Sharma. She was the colony doctor. She was also the only person on Mars who could make him laugh. They had known each other for 6 years now. 6 years of mining accidents and bad coffee and long nights talking about nothing important. "They are going to kill Administrator Wells," Priya whispered. Danny watched as Velthari soldiers dragged the old man to the front of the crowd. Wells was 63 years old. He had grandchildren on Earth. He had a bad knee and a worse sense of humor. Grohl raised a weapon that looked like a rifle but was not. It was something worse, something that would leave nothing behind. "This is standard protocol," Grohl announced. His voice came through a translator device that made every word sound flat and dead. "Your leader dies, you serve us. This is how conquest works." Danny felt Priya move beside him. Before he could stop her, she was on her feet. "No," she said. The plaza went silent. Even the Velthari stopped moving. Danny had never seen an alien look surprised before. Grohl turned his black eyes toward the small human woman who dared to stand. "Explain yourself," Grohl said. "You will not kill him," Priya said. Her voice was steady. Danny had always admired that about her. She could be terrified and still sound like she was in complete control. "He is my friend." Grohl's translator made a strange sound, like static, like the machine was choking on something it could not process. "Define this word," Grohl said. "Friend," Priya repeated. "We are friends. I will not let you hurt him." Grohl tilted his head. The movement was wrong somehow, too mechanical. "You are not genetically related to this human. Our scans confirm this. You have no mating contract with him. You do not own him. He does not own you. What is your obligation to him?" "He is my friend," Priya said again. Danny stood up. He could not let her face this alone. That was the whole point, was it not? That was what friendship meant. "I am her friend," Danny said. "And Wells is my friend too. We would die for each other." Grohl's soldiers began to shift. Their weapons moved in small, nervous motions. Danny had spent enough time around soldiers to recognize fear when he saw it. But what could these aliens possibly be afraid of? "You would die," Grohl said slowly, "for someone you have no obligation to." "Yes," Danny said. "Why?" Danny thought about it. He thought about Priya pulling him out of a collapsed mine shaft. He thought about Wells teaching him to play chess. He thought about every small moment that had built something larger than any contract could contain. "Because we chose each other," Danny said. "That is what friends do." Grohl stepped back, actually stepped back like Danny had just pulled a weapon on him. "This is not possible," Grohl said. His voice had changed. The flatness was gone. Something else was there now, something that sounded almost like panic. "Loyalty without contract is chaos. Sacrifice without obligation is insanity." More humans were standing now. All around the plaza, people were rising to their feet, and they were looking at each other, looking at their friends. "They are all infected," one of Grohl's soldiers said. "They all have this bond." Grohl activated his communication device. "Commander Urix, we have a situation." A deep voice crackled through. "Report." "The humans have demonstrated something unprecedented. They form voluntary loyalty bonds with no genetic or contractual basis. They call it friendship. They claim they would die for each other." Silence on the other end, long silence. All of them? Urix finally asked. Grohl looked at the plaza full of standing humans. 200 people, 200 friends. All of them, he confirmed. Danny took Priya's hand. She squeezed back. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Sergeant Grohl, Commander Urix said, hold position, do not engage further. I am contacting High Command. This species may be more dangerous than we anticipated. Grohl lowered his weapon. His soldiers did the same. And for the first time since the ships arrived, Danny saw something in those black alien eyes that he recognized. Fear. The Velthari were afraid. Not of human weapons, not of human strength. They were afraid of something far more powerful. They were afraid of friendship. And they had no idea how to fight it. The cell smelled like copper and something chemical that burned the inside of her nose. Lieutenant Yana Okonkwo had been in this room for 3 days. She had counted the hours by the flickering of the lights above her. High Inquisitor Drawl stood before her. He was different from the soldiers she had seen before. Taller, thinner. His claws were longer and stained with things she did not want to think about. Behind him, a smaller Velthari called Subcommander Threll took notes on a glowing tablet. You are a military officer, Drawl said. You have information about Earth's defenses. You will give me this information. Yana laughed. It hurt her ribs, but she laughed anyway. No. Drawl leaned closer. You do not understand your situation. Your ship is destroyed. Your crew is dead. Your planet will fall. Nothing you do matters anymore. So why suffer? Tell me what I want to know and you will be comfortable. You will be fed. You will live. My friends are counting on me, Yana said. There was that word again. Drawl had heard it in the reports from Mars. He had read Sergeant Grohl's confused transmissions. He had not understood then. He did not understand now. Your crew is dead, Drawl repeated. You have no friends left. Yana shook her head. You really do not understand, do you? Then explain. Yana closed her eyes. She remembered her squad. She remembered how Private Reese had carried her for 12 miles through a jungle on Europa after she broke her leg. She remembered how Captain Davis had taken a blade meant for her back. She remembered how Ensign Patel had held her hand when she was afraid. My friends are not just my crew, Yana said. Every human on that planet you want to conquer is my friend. Every human in this galaxy is my friend. We do not need to know each other. We do not need to have met. We are connected by something you cannot understand. Drawl turned to Threll. Is she mentally damaged? Her brain scans are normal, Threll said. His voice was nervous. She believes. What she is saying. Drawl activated a screen on the wall. It showed images of Earth, cities burning, ships falling from the sky, bodies in the streets. Watch, Drawl said. Watch your world die, then tell me about friendship. Yana watched, tears ran down her face, but her voice did not break when she spoke. Every human you kill has friends, she said. And those friends will never stop coming for you. You can burn our cities, you can destroy our ships, you can kill every single one of us, but you will never win because we fight for each other, and you fight for nothing. Drawl stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the room. Threll followed, his claws clicking nervously on the metal floor. What is your assessment? Threll asked when they were alone. She cannot be broken, Drawl said. I have broken 1,000 species. I have made warriors beg. I have made kings betray their own children. But this human will not give me anything. Not because she is strong. She is in pain. She is afraid, but she will not betray her friends. What do we do? I must contact the High Council. This species must be exterminated immediately. They cannot be controlled. They cannot be enslaved. Their loyalty is too absolute. Back on Mars, the prisoners had been moved to holding cells. Danny and Priya shared a small space with 20 others. The guards watched them through the bars with those empty black eyes. Danny noticed something strange. The guards kept their distance. They jumped when the humans moved suddenly. They whispered to each other in their clicking language. They are scared of us, Priya said. We should use that, Danny replied. He stood up and walked to the bars. The guards raised their weapons. "Hello, friend," Danny said to the nearest guard. The guard stepped back, actually stepped back. "What are you doing?" the guard demanded. "Just talking," Danny said. "That is what friends do. We talk to each other, we help each other, we protect each other." The guard looked at his companions. Danny could see the confusion, the fear. "You protect each other from us?" the guard asked. Danny smiled. "We protect each other from everything." More guards were gathering now. They whispered among themselves. Danny caught pieces of their conversation through the translators. "Voluntary bonds? Impossible, no genetic basis, how do they trust?" One young guard, smaller than the others, stepped forward. His voice was quieter than the rest. "You would really die for each other?" he asked. "Yes," Danny said, and he meant it. The young guard looked at his fellow soldiers, then back at Danny. Something changed in those black eyes, not friendship, not yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding. "We do not have this," the young guard said. "We do not have friends." Danny reached through the bars. The guards raised their weapons, but Danny just held out his hand. "You could," he said. "It is a choice. Anyone can make it." The young guard stared at the offered hand. He did not take it, not yet. But he did not shoot either. And somewhere in the darkness of space, High Inquisitor Drawl was sending his report to the High Council. The message was simple and terrifying. Recommend immediate extermination. The humans cannot be controlled. Their friendship is a weapon we have no defense against. Old Pete had lived on Mars for 40 years. He had survived 3 cave-ins, 2 radiation storms, and 1 very angry ex-wife. He had thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. The Velthari guards had just caught a young miner named Darius stealing food from the supply depot. The punishment for theft was death. Everyone knew this. The aliens had made it very clear. But when they dragged Darius to the plaza, something unexpected happened. "Why did you steal?" demanded Captain Rella. She was different from the other Velthari officers. Smaller, quieter. She actually seemed to listen when humans spoke. "The food was not for me," Darius said. "It was for Nina. She is 6 years old. She is sick. She needed to eat." Captain Rella checked her records. "Nina is not your offspring. She is not genetically related to you in any way. You have no contract with her parents. Why would you risk death for a child that is not yours?" Darius looked at Rella like she had asked why water was wet. "She is my friend's daughter," he said. "That makes her family." Old Pete watched Rella's reaction carefully. He had learned to read these aliens over the past weeks. He could see the confusion, but there was something else too, something that looked almost like curiosity. Rella did not execute Darius. She sent him back to the cells with a warning. When her fellow officers protested, she simply said she needed more time to study human behavior. That night, Old Pete gathered Danny, Priya, and a dozen other trusted colonists. In the deepest part of the mine tunnels. "We need to fight back," Old Pete said, "and I think I know how." Danny looked at the old man. "What do you have in mind?" "The aliens cannot predict us," Old Pete said. "Their whole military strategy is based on everyone acting in their own self-interest. But we do not work that way. We cover for each other. We take punishments for each other. We confuse them." "That is not a weapon," Priya said. "It is the best weapon we have," Old Pete replied. "They are afraid of what they do not understand, so let us give them more things to not understand." Miles above them, in orbit around Earth, Admiral Sato Hiroshi was receiving reports from across the solar system. The news was bad. Mars occupied, Jupiter stations destroyed, the outer colonies silent. But Sato had a secret. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, hidden for 20 years, was a fleet. 100 ships, Earth's last hope. "Admiral," said his aide, a young woman named Rosa, "the rescue mission to Mars is ready. But I must be honest. It is likely a suicide run. We are outgunned, outmanned, and outmaneuvered." Sato nodded. "Ask for volunteers only. No one should be ordered to die." Rosa came back an hour later. Her face was pale. Sir, every single ship volunteered, the entire fleet. Sato was not surprised, but he asked anyway, did they say why? Lieutenant Park from the destroyer Brave said it best, sir. He said, we have friends on Mars. That is all the reason we need. Sato stood before his fleet via hologram. 100 captains, 100 crews, thousands of humans ready to fly into certain death. You know the odds, Sato said. You know most of us will not come back, but our friends are waiting, our families, our people. We do not leave them behind, we never leave them behind. That is what it means to be human. The fleet launched. 100 points of light rising from the moon, heading toward Mars and the enemy armada waiting there. The Velthari detected them within hours. Commander Urix studied the formation with growing confusion. This makes no sense, he said. 3 of their ships are damaged, barely functional. The others are slowing down to stay with them. They are weakening their entire force to protect 3 useless vessels. Should we target the damaged ships? His tactical officer asked. Force the others to abandon them. Yes, fire on the weak ones. The rest will scatter. The Velthari weapons found their marks. 3 human ships took heavy damage. They began to fall behind, engines failing, systems dying. But the healthy ships did not scatter. They moved in front of the damaged ones. They took the fire. They shielded their wounded friends with their own bodies. Commander Urix watched as 2 human ships were destroyed, trying to save one that was already doomed. Why, he whispered, why would they do that? No one answered him, because no one understood. On Mars, Captain Rella slipped into the underground tunnels. She had been watching the humans for weeks. She had listened to their stories. She had seen their impossible loyalty. And she needed to understand. Danny found her waiting in the darkness. His first instinct was to run, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she stood, not like a conqueror, like someone who was lost. I need to know, Rella said. What is a friend, really? I need to understand. Danny looked at this alien, this enemy, this creature from a species that wanted to enslave his people. And he made a choice. Sit down, he said. I will tell you. Rella had never sat on a rock before. Her species stood or rested in specialized pods. But here she was, in a dark tunnel beneath Mars, sitting on a cold stone next to a human named Danny. You want to know about friendship, Danny said. I will tell you a story. Rella nodded. She had turned off her recording devices. This was not for her commanders. This was for her. 6 years ago, Danny began, there was a mining accident. Section 12 collapsed. I was trapped under a beam. My leg was crushed. I could not move. The air was running out. You survived, Rella said, clearly. Because of Priya, she was new to the colony, a doctor from Earth. We had spoken maybe 3 times. We were not family. We had no contract, but she came for me. Perhaps she was obligated as a medical professional. Danny shook his head. The colony administrator ordered everyone to stay back. The tunnel was unstable. Anyone who went in might die. Priya went anyway. She crawled through broken rock for 2 hours to reach me. She held my hand and told me stupid jokes while we waited for rescue. She did not know if help was coming. She stayed anyway. Rella was silent for a long moment. Why would she risk her life for someone she barely knew? Because that is what friends do, and in that moment we became friends, not because blood or contracts, because she chose me, and I chose her. Chose, Rella repeated. The word seemed strange to her. You chose each other. That is the whole point. Friendship is a choice. You look at another person and you decide, I will care about you, I will protect you, I will stand with you when everything falls apart. No one forces you, you just do it. Rella thought about her own life. She had soldiers who obeyed her because of rank. She had superiors who controlled her because of power. She had family members bound by genetics and nothing else. But no one had ever chosen her. There is more, Danny said. 2 years ago, Priya's brother died, mining accident, different tunnel. I carried his body out of the collapse. I held her while she cried for 3 days. I gave the speech at his memorial, not because I had to, because I loved him too, because he was my friend. You loved someone who was not your mate, not your offspring. Love is not limited, Danny said. That is something your species does not understand. Love does not run out. The more you give, the more you have. I can love Priya and love her brother and love everyone in this colony. It does not make any of that love smaller. Above them, in orbit, Admiral Sato's fleet was approaching Mars. The Velthari detected their formation and prepared to engage, but Commander Urix was watching something he could not explain. 3 more human ships are taking damage, his tactical officer reported. But the others are still not leaving them behind. They are actually slowing their advance to keep the wounded ships with the group. This is madness, Urix said. They are weakening their entire attack force. Sir, should we not be pleased? This makes them easier to destroy. Urix shook his head. It should make them easier to destroy, but it does not, because I cannot predict what they will do next. Every model we have assumes rational self-interest. These humans are not rational, they are something else. What are they? Urix watched a human cruiser throw itself in front of a missile meant for a crippled transport ship. The cruiser exploded. The transport survived. They are dangerous, Urix said quietly. More dangerous than anything we have ever faced. Back in the tunnel, Rella stood up. Her mind was spinning with thoughts she had never had before. I want to understand, she said, but I do not know if I can. My species has never experienced. This, we do not have the capacity. Danny stood with her. He looked at this alien, this enemy, and he saw something he recognized, loneliness. A desperate, aching loneliness that had been there so long it felt like normal. You can learn, Danny said. Anyone can. How do I start? Danny reached out his hand, just like he had done with the guard days ago, but this time there was something different in his eyes, trust. You start by making a choice, he said. You choose someone and you tell them I am your friend, and then you act like it every day, no matter what. Rella looked at his hand. In her culture, touching an alien was forbidden, shameful, dangerous. She took his hand anyway. I am making a choice, she said. I choose you, I am your friend. Danny smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since the ships came. Welcome to humanity's side, he said. Now let me tell you everything you need to know about the Velthari fleet positions, because friends help each other, and right now my friends need your help. Rella nodded, and for the first time in her life she felt something she had no word for. Later, she would learn the human word. It was called belonging. The first explosion shook the entire colony, then came the second, and the third. The sky above Mars turned into a storm of fire and metal. Admiral Sato's fleet had arrived. On the ground, Danny heard the blasts and knew what they meant. Help was coming, but they could not just wait. They had to fight too. Now, he said to old Pete, we move now. The resistance had been planning this for weeks. Miners with pickaxes, engineers with welding torches, doctors with scalpels. They were not soldiers, but they were friends, and that made all the difference. Old Pete led the first charge. He was 73 years old. He had a bad hip and worse lungs. But when the Velthari guards turned toward him, he did not stop. These are my friends, he shouted. I have known them for 20 years. You think I will let them die alone? The guards fired. Old Pete took a hit to his shoulder. He kept running. Behind him came 50 miners, then 100, then more. They swarmed the guard positions with nothing but tools and fury and love for each other. Priya ran toward the medical bay. She had wounded to save. A Velthari soldier stepped in her path, weapon raised. Move, she said. You will die, the soldier replied. My patients need me. Shoot me or get out of my way, but know this, if you kill me, my friends will never stop hunting you, ever. The soldier hesitated, just for a moment, but a moment was enough. Priya ducked under his arm and ran. In orbit, the battle was chaos. Admiral Sato watched his ships die one by one, but they kept fighting, they kept protecting each other. Sir, Rosa said, The destroyer Brave is losing power. They are asking permission to fall back. Tell them they have my blessing to retreat. Rosa relayed the message. Then she looked at her screen with confusion. Sir, they are not retreating, they say. They say their friends are still fighting. They will not leave. The Brave pushed forward. Its weapons failing, its shields gone, it flew directly into a Velthari cruiser. The explosion took out both ships. Why? Commander Urix screamed at his tactical officers. Why do they keep doing this? They cannot win. They must know they cannot win. No one could answer him, because no one understood. On the ground, Danny led a team toward the communication array. If they could destroy it, the Velthari fleet would lose coordination. It might give Sato's ships a chance. Rella ran beside him. She had given them the location. She had shown them the weak points, and now she fought against her own people. Traitor, a Velthari officer shouted at her. You have betrayed your species. Rella did not slow down. No, for the first time I am loyal to something I chose. Danny reached the array first. He planted the explosives while Rella covered him. Around them, the battle raged. Humans and Velthari fought hand to claw in the red dust. Done, Danny said. We need to move. They ran. The explosion behind them lit up the Martian sky, and suddenly the Velthari fleet was blind. Sato saw his opportunity. All ships focus fire on the flagship now. 40 human ships turned their weapons on Commander Urix's vessel. The Velthari tried to coordinate a response, but without their communication array, they were scattered. Confused, afraid. Retreat, Urix ordered. All ships retreat. The Velthari armada began to pull back, but they were not fast enough. Human ships chased them, fighting with a fury that made no tactical sense. On the ground, something even stranger was happening. A Velthari battalion threw down their weapons. Their commander stepped forward with his claws open, showing he was unarmed. We surrender, he said. Danny approached him. Carefully, why? You still have numbers, you could still fight. The commander looked at the humans around him. Wounded, exhausted, still standing, still protecting each other. We do not know how to fight an enemy that loves each other, he said. It is impossible. Everything we do, you turn against us. We kill one of you and 10 more appear. We wound you and you carry each other to safety. We try to break you and you only become stronger. We cannot win against this. Danny looked at Priya, at old Pete, clutching his wounded shoulder but still on his feet. At Rella, standing among humans like she had always belonged there. You are right, Danny said. You cannot. By morning, the Velthari fleet was gone, not destroyed but broken. Commander Urix sent a final message back to his high command. The humans have defeated us, not with superior weapons, not with greater numbers. They defeated us with something we have no defense against. They call it friendship, and I fear it may spread. He was right to be afraid, because it was already spreading. The Velthari soldiers who had surrendered did not ask for mercy. They asked for something else. Can you teach us, they asked, can you teach us how to be friends? And the humans, being human, said yes. 5 years changed everything. Danny stood before the Grand Council of 100 species. His hair was gray now, his hands were wrinkled, but his eyes were still the same, still warm, still ready to see a friend in anyone. The chamber was massive. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the curved seats that rose toward a ceiling lost in shadow. Some were insected like the Velthari, some were scaled, some were made of light itself. 100 different forms of life all gathered in one place. 5 years ago, the Velthari had returned with a fleet 10 times larger than before. They had expected to crush Earth. They had failed, and not because humans had built better weapons. They had failed because the word had spread. It started with the Velthari prisoners who had surrendered on Mars. Humans taught them about friendship, about choosing each other, about loyalty that was not forced. When those soldiers returned home, they carried the idea with them like a virus. Slaves on Velthari worlds started protecting each other, not because they had to, because they wanted to. Soldiers began refusing to fire on enemies who had surrendered. Commanders found that their troops would rather die together than abandon wounded friends. The Velthari Galactic Coalition began to crack. Other species noticed. The Rashin, a gentle race that had been conquered 3 centuries ago, saw what was happening. They learned the word. They started saying it to each other. Friend, friend, friend. Within 2 years, the Rashin had peacefully overthrown their Velthari governors. Not through violence, through connection, through the simple act of choosing each other. The idea spread faster than any fleet could travel. Species that had never spoken to each other began to communicate, began to help each other, began to call each other friend. Now, 5 years later, the Velthari High Command stood before the Grand Council. They had come to demand answers. "How did you do this?" the Velthari Supreme Commander asked. "How did you destroy an empire that lasted 10,000 years?" Danny stepped forward. Priya stood beside him, as she always did. Rella was in the front row of the audience, wearing the uniform of the new Galactic Alliance. "We did not destroy anything," Danny said. "We built something. You infected our troops with your madness." "We taught them to love each other," Danny replied. "That is not madness. That is the most sane thing in the universe." The Supreme Commander pointed a claw at him. "Your friendship breaks every rule of efficient society. Loyalty must be contractual. Sacrifice must be obligated. Without rules, there is chaos." Danny smiled. It was the same smile he had given Rella in the tunnels of Mars 5 years ago. "You are right," he said. "Friendship breaks the rules. That is the point. The rules you built were designed to control, to limit, to keep everyone afraid and alone. Friendship says no to all of that. It says, I choose you, not because I have to, because I want to." He gestured to the assembly. 100 species, many of them former enemies, all of them now standing together. "Look around you," Danny said. Rashin and Velthari sitting side by side. The Luminari sharing light with the Stoneborn, species that spent centuries killing each other, now building futures together. This is what friendship does. It does not conquer, it connects. A young Velthari in the back of the chamber raised her claw. She was small, nervous, but she spoke anyway. "Can I ask something?" Danny nodded. "Of course. I have watched humans for 2 years. I have studied your history. Your wars, your cruelty to each other. You are not perfect. You have done terrible things. How can you claim friendship is your strength when you have also hurt each other so badly?" It was a good question. Danny took a moment to answer. "Because we kept trying," he said. "Every time we failed, we tried again. Every time we hurt each other, we learned. Friendship is not about being perfect. It is about choosing each other anyway. It is about saying, I know you are flawed, I know you will make mistakes. I will stand with you anyway." The young Velthari stepped forward. Her voice was barely a whisper. Can I be your friend too?" Danny walked through the crowd toward her. Representatives of 100 species watched. The Supreme Commander of a fallen empire glared. Danny took her claw in his hand. "You already are," he said. The chamber erupted, not in anger, in something else, in hope. Later, historians would write about this moment. They would call it the birth of the Galactic Alliance. They would analyze the politics and the treaties and the complex negotiations that followed. But they all missed the simple truth. The galaxy was not changed by weapons or politics or grand strategies. It was changed by one word. A small word, a simple word. The word was friend. And it was enough.